On this week's From the Joinery, we're going to show you how to lay out a mortise, an 1.5" mortise on a 6x8 timber using the Easy L, which is our easy layout tool. It's an edge reference tool designed to help us with square rule layout. You'll note right here there's a chalk mark, and there's another one right down below. We use chalk because it's easy to rub off. What we did is determine that this was the best edge on our timber, and once we've determined that's the best edge, we define this whole face as a reference face, and the bottom face is a reference face. And what that means is we're going to measure from those faces. So every time I hook my Easy L, it's going to hook on to either this face or this face. So to lay out a mortise, the first thing I'm going to do is measure. And you can see that we're not going to use the end of the tape because of this movement. It's not accurate and precise. I'm going to start at the 10 and make a mark at the 10. And then I'll move up to the 15.5 and make a second mark. We're going to put a 6-inch timber into this beam. So to account for the reduction, the length of that mortise is 5.5 inches. First up, I'm going to make my housing line. So I just put my pencil in my mark, I slide up my Easy L, and then I mark my housing, and then I mark the other end of my housing. And what I'm going to do, this mortise is going to be 1.5 inches off the reference face and 3 inches, overall 3 inches thick. So I've got 1.5 inch mark here and a 3-inch mark. And I'm just going to use those marks. That gives me 1.5 inches there, and this is the 3-inch mark. So this will be the housing, this will be the housing, this is the mortise. From here to here is 1.5 inches, and from here to here is 3 inches. Once we have the top laid out, we've got to rotate our timber so that we can mark the housing. And the housing is going to be measured off the reference face. We want it about 1/2 inch thick, but we're measuring from the reference face on an 8-inch timber, so we're going to measure up 7.5 inches. So just transfer my marks here from my housing line so I know where they are. And then here, I'm going to make a mark at my 7.5 inches. And I'm going to come back here and extend my housing line right down to that mark. And this is the housing that will be removed. If you actually take a look here, it's a little narrower on this side as compared to this side, which is pretty normal with timbers that come right off of the sawmill. But this line here is parallel to this line, so when we put everything together, it's all going to fit up nicely. We then need to repeat that process on the other side. So we're going to roll up. I'm going to roll our timber over to the other side. I'm going to pick up the Easy L, which is on the floor. And again, I'm going to put this Easy L on my reference face. I'm going to hook onto that. I'm just going to make my mark so I can see where they're at. Little tip mark. And I'm going to make a line here at 7.5 inches. And then I'm going to extend these marks down. And this will come away. Now, in this case, there is a little variation. It's a little less than the other side, right? Because timbers are going to be a little bit different. That saw blade tends to wander a little bit as it's cutting the timbers. But we know, since we measured off a reference face, this line is parallel to this edge. So when we plug in the piece, everything is going to be plumb and level. That's pretty much all that's needed to lay out a mortise. I'm going to drill a hole here. I'll use a chain mortiser to drill that hole. And then we'll just cut a housing. And what a housing is actually a notch, a variable size notch. So we'll take this chunk of wood out right here. And then we're going to take this chunk of wood out right there. And that completes our mortise, and we are ready to go. Thanks for hanging with us. If you have any comments or questions about the layout process, or if you have some other topics that you'd like to see in the future, leave those in the comments below.